Hi there, this is Ryan Chatterson, and today I'm going to show you during this session how to build a center outlet radial flow settler. Now this isn't going to take a long amount of time, so we'll get started and go through this pretty quickly. First off, we want to remember, how does a radial flow settler work? How does just a general one you buy off the shelf work? Okay, well, we have a round vessel. We can look at this vessel right here. This is an old scrap tank that has a hole in it, so I'm going to drill this up just as a demonstration for this exercise. And let's just picture this standing up straight, okay? You know, a little bit different dimensions, 45 to 60 degree cone on the bottom. And this is going to be our downflow tube, our center downflow tube. So this goes in the center, and in a regular radial flow settler, this sticks out of the water. So the top of it's going to stick out of the water. There's supports on each side, and the water comes in from underneath. It goes up into the tube, and because the water comes straight up, and this is above the surface of the water, well, when the jet stream hits the top of the water column, it disperses outwards and goes back down at a dampened velocity down the downflow pipe here, okay? So goes down, comes back up after it's gone down in reverse direction again, and there's a rim around the tank where the water spills over the rim, and say there's an outlet right here on the side, and that's where the water would go to the next component. So that's a regular radial flow settler, all right? Now, with our center outlet radial flow settler, you've seen some of the specifications. This is what we do differently. You remember the plastic disc that we already drilled as a demonstration to build a center bottom drain, bottom disc plate. This was the guard. Well, we do the same thing, very similar, same material, and we do it to the specifications that I've listed in the PowerPoints and in the presentation that you've probably already seen by this point. Okay, so after we have this, we go ahead, and this is the same disc with all the paper removed, and I went ahead and drilled a hole in the center for a uniseal to go through, okay? This is going to go right on top of this downflow tube that we see in a normal radial flow settler, and where this would be out of the top of the water, over the surface of the water in a regular radial flow settler, we actually cap this off and we put it below the surface of the water. So the water, the inlet is still coming into the side of this. It's pointed up, same action, the water goes up, and instead of reaching the surface of the water and changing directions, it reaches the surface, the bottom of this cap, and it changes directions. We have the same action happening, same flow dampening happening. Goes down, it changes direction just like in a radial flow settler, but instead of spilling over the sidewall, it spills over the middle plate. It just spills over in an opposite direction, okay? So instead of going this way over the sawtooth weir, it's going this way over the center settling plate until the water makes its way, gaining speed as it gets to the center hole, and that's the drain outlet. Now it's going to drain through there, out of the side of this stilling well. We're going to drill a hole and let the outlet pipe go out of the side of that, and then it's going to go off to our next component. So really very similar approach. We're just creating a center inlet instead of an outer sawtooth weir. We'll show you how to get started here. So we've got our disc. We want to have already pre-measured the stilling well here, and then we're going to go ahead and drill a hole where we want our outlet pipe to come out of the stilling well. Now, inside the stilling well, we're going to have a 90-degree elbow, okay? And it's going to sit just a few inches below this center bottom disc. We don't want to butt it right up against that seal. Give yourself a little bit of room to work with. So just drop it a few inches below that plate. And that's where we're going to have it going out of the side wall of the stilling well. Now I've already marked it on here. I went ahead and measured. And again, what do? We just go ahead and mark down how far we want below that disc, and then make sure you're not marking the edge, mark the center of where you want to drill the hole with the hole saw. Getting the hole saw ready here real quick. All right. And again, slowly, this isn't the best surface to do it on, but just slowly work your way through the PVC pipe. Not a race. Almost through here. There we go. Might be getting a little low on juice on my drill battery too. But we can get the deburring tool in here in a minute. But as you can see, we've got a nice hole here, okay? That's what we want. We're gonna go ahead and pop a uniseal in the side of that hole. Okay. All right, again, we'll deburr it, but this is just to do this real quick for the video. And then on the inside of the pipe, again, we want our 90-degree elbow. So we just bring the 90-degree elbow, we measure the distance to get it right to the center of that pipe. That's where we want it. And then we go ahead and cut a piece of pipe that's going to go through here and go up. So the distance of the pipe from whatever this is the outlet. So let's say we're going to drop a 90-degree here to go to the next component. Wherever you're going to do that, you might even do it, you know, again, it has to be on the outside, the sidewall of the tank. But we bring this out through to the sidewall of the tank and then drop probably a 90-degree elbow there. And that's the distance this pipe has to be cut. So I guess I'll move this around and make that a little more clear for everybody. I don't want to get confusing. When we install this in the center of this tank, you want this pipe, probably like this one, okay, to go through the sidewall, through this, to the center where it's going to connect to that 90-degree elbow. And I'll go ahead and drill a hole in this real quick so we can do that. Now again, I went ahead and pre-marked where I wanted to do this on the tank. You got to think about where you want the water level in this radial flow settler before you actually drill this hole. There we go. Okay, we're through. So let me go ahead and grab another uniseal that I've got sitting over here. Okay, we're gonna pop one in the side of the tank there. Got some Windex. Go ahead and spray your pipe down. I'm doing this out of camera, sorry, I don't want to spray everything over there with Windex. Spray a little bit on the seal here. We're going to go ahead and work this pipe in. There we go, see, Windex, real easy to actually get the pipe in. Now what we're going to have to do here is a little bit of measuring to get this just right. Our pipe right in the middle here. Okay, I just dry fit that elbow on there because again, we want this thing in the middle of the tank. We'll go ahead and do some measurements. I can tell by eye I need to move it back just a little bit. Okay, we'll go ahead and get the measuring tape real quick and just make sure we're in the center of the filter here. Because again, we want to get to the center. That's where we're going to get the best radial flow out of this. All right, so this is about 2 feet, 2.5 inches. So we wanted it about 1 feet, 1¼ inches. We're really right there. All right, we're on the money. I don't know what it looks like on camera, but that's the center of this tank, okay? So now what we can do, for one, go ahead and mark it with something so you know where your mark is on the sidewall. I got a highlighter here, but that'll work for now. I don't know where my Sharpie went, but got that marked, okay? Now we can pop this off because we didn't glue it. We're gonna put it through the sidewall of this. So we got another uniseal we've got to penetrate, put through there. Good old Windex. Now again, you can use something other than Windex. You can use dish soap, you can use rubbing alcohol, doesn't work as good, but you can use that. You can try your hand with water, but this is the quickest way. And then we can just rinse this off. You don't want to use an ungodly amount or anything, but. Now I'm actually going to flip this filter around because it's very hard to do this with it pointed straight up. Try this again. Okay, and now you see after a little hard work there, we've got this down into the center, okay? We can do a little final adjustments. I think this has to come down just a little bit. And we want to be right with this. We'll do some measurements in a second. But what's going to happen is we're going to go ahead and, again, attach this disc right on top with a uniseal. And we're going to plumb our outlet tube right through there. It's going to go right into this. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. A little more Windex. They should sponsor this segment. Actually going to do it through this side because I already marked the other side for something else. Okay, we got it through. Not quite far enough. And we can do the measurement, but you're getting the idea of what we're doing here to actually construct this. Okay, so you see the internal structure here. All right, we're gonna have our disc at water level that we want in the center, everything centralized. And right here, we're going to actually drill holes just like we did in the drain plate guard that we did for the fish tank. And by drilling the holes there and creating those gaps, we let the water exit there. But by having this stub above, we're actually going to stick 2 support beams across the top and stick a bolt through here so that this doesn't move around. It'll be supported by 2 beams. And then we drill one more hole down here, and that's our inlet hole. When we drill that hole, we have an elbow coming up, injecting the water into this stilling well. It's going to come up, dampen, go back down, reverse directions, come up, but instead of going over the rim, again, it's going to come this way, fall through here, and exit through the drain pipe that we just installed. So we'll come back to this when I've glued this and you can get a better idea of what it looks like as a finished product. And in this segment, we're going to finish up the center outlet radial flow settler, okay? So this is the settler internals that we built during the last session. We've got our stilling well, okay, the 6-inch stilling well. We've got our plate, settling plate up top. We've got the uniseals installed in the top of the settling plate and in the side of the 6-inch stilling well. And during the last session, I worked it in the pipe into this big circular tank and put this in here just so you got an idea what it would look like. Well, during installation, it's going to be hard to glue all that, so you want to go ahead and put a union on here. So we cut the pipe off, we installed a union, and then we cut the pipe off on there at the right distance to center this, okay? So then we know each side, once we put them together, it's going to be centered, and we just do that by measuring the distance of how long that pipe is coming out of the side wall towards this. Very easy, okay? So we go ahead and do that. Now, what we didn't show you is how you actually hang this, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and stick this onto the pipe that's already installed on the inside of this, and try not to trip over my microphone cord here. Okay, now I'm just going to dry fit that on there, and that's what I would do, you know, until you get the measurements right. Now, because we have a union, you can glue each side of that, and if you ever need to pull this out, then it's really easy. You can clean whatever you need to, check on something, maybe part of your cleaning regimen, you can't get a 45-degree cone bottom and you need to get into the bottom of this. Well, it'll be easy if you unscrew that. You could pull the internals out and make sure you get everything pushed right down to the bottom. So that's very good. It's very accessible. And you can see just from this, we got it pretty much centered as much as I can with this tank on its side. But then at the top of this pipe, now we drilled our holes for the water to flow just like a bottom drain, okay? So the water flows out and out of the tank. But on the top, we made the pipe extend above the rim of this tank, and we drilled a hole through the pipe, okay? Now what we're gonna do is, I just use two 2x4s, for example. If you're gonna use wood, use untreated wood. And go ahead and use those like braces, okay? Just like that. And we're gonna sandwich that pipe. These braces hold the top rim of the tank, and then we'll go ahead and drop a bolt through the pipe. Okay, now what I would suggest is cutting the pipe off low enough so that bolt goes through the wood, through the pipe, through the wood, and then you stick a nut on the other side. That'll keep it nice and secure, sandwiched between those two pieces. Now, if you don't use wood, you can use FRP, you can use metal, aluminum, you know, anything that's not going to leach something into your system and that's stiff enough to hold this in place. That's very easy. Again, anytime you need to access it, pull that out, pull your supports out, undo the union. Okay. Just went ahead and yanked it off, but then it's easy to remove. This is an old union, so it didn't come off quite as easy as I wanted. But you can see that's the whole process. So we've got the internals, we know how it works, we understand the water flow dynamics, and now you're ready to go home and build one of these much, much cheaper than you can purchase an off-the-shelf radial flow settler. But again, keep in mind, it does have one extra vertical, or I mean, sorry, horizontal pipe. Not very long, but this surface is an area where debris can collect, and that would be the decrease in efficiency between this and the other filter. Now, when you look at this distance, and the distance of this pipe, that's not much area for solids to actually settle. So I'm not real worried about that. The design works great. And what's not shown in here is once that's installed, again, we need to drill our water inlet pipe. And that's going to come straight in from the sidewall, elbow up into the stilling well. Okay, and I didn't drill that, but that's fairly self-explanatory. The inlet has to come in lower than the stilling wall sidewall so that it can go underneath and elbow up to direct the water flow up so that it dampens on its directional change and velocity dampening journey. So that's how we build this. Any questions, be sure to let me know. Thanks.